Hello and welcome to Supposedly Fun. My name is Greg. You know Teddy, who dazzled everyone being a sweet little boy in my January reading wrap-up. Well, he's back for a Friday Reads video where we wrap up the week in reading and talk about any interesting bookish things that have gone on. Right, Teddy? He's being very cute today as well. He's just a very good boy. So if you want to jump right to the Friday Reads, I will have a timestamp in the description box down below where you can do so. There's not a whole lot to talk about before we get to the actual Friday Reads video. Obviously, the big thing that happened this week is that the Women's Prize launched its nonfiction long list. This is the first year that they are doing a nonfiction prize, and I think the long list was extremely strong. It definitely made a case for why the prize should exist, and it is worth recognizing the work of women who write nonfiction books. I'm very excited to see what happens. The long list is so strong that I almost can't even guess which books will end up making it onto the short list. It feels like you could make a case for any one of the books on the list. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens. We have a very busy book prize season early in the year in 2024 with the addition of the Women's Prize for nonfiction, because we also have the International Booker Prize, which will be announcing its long list in March. They will be doing that on March 11th. We will also be getting the long list for the Fiction Prize for the Women's Prize on March 5th. So right away, we're getting two other long lists very soon, relatively speaking. And then we will also be getting the Pulitzer Prize on May 8th. I think Teddy might want down. Do you want down, baby? Do you want down? Or are you just trying to get comfortable? He might be trying to get comfortable. I'm gonna let him try to figure it out. And just to complete the timelines for that, we'll get the shortlist for the Women's Prize for nonfiction on March 27th. So even in the same month of March, we will be getting the shortlist for the nonfiction prize. I do understand the urge to announce the nonfiction prize and the fiction prize for the Women's Prize on the same date, but it does mean if you're somebody who wanted to read through both lists, you definitely need to get a wiggle on because there's a lot happening fast for these prizes. But so the shortlist for the nonfiction prize will be announced on March 27th, and then we'll get the winner on June 13th. The fiction long list again comes on March 5th. April 24th gives us the shortlist, and then June 13th is the day that they will be announcing the prize. Again, same day as nonfiction. And as for the International Booker, we get the long list on March 11th, the short list on April 9th, the prize is announced on May 21st. So that's a sort of accelerated timeline. And then again, the Pulitzer is announced on May 8th. So it just feels like there's a lot going on in the book prize world right now, for sure. And that doesn't feel typical for this early in the year. And I definitely think it's because the nonfiction prize is now in the mix. But I'm glad to have it. And again, it's a great long list. I've gotten some great feedback from people in the comments on the video. I'll have my reaction video to the long list in the description box down below if you haven't seen it yet. It was really hard to try to film it yesterday. It ended up being an unexpectedly busy day. So I wasn't able to film my reaction until later in the day, which meant the video got posted later in the day. So it was a mess, but I got it posted. So it will be in the description box down below. I don't think there's really much else to talk about in the book world. I just wanted to give you that sort of summary about the book prizes and everything going on there because it's a lot. It's definitely a lot. You may notice I'm definitely feeling better. I have a little bit of energy back. I'm still not 100%, but I'm definitely doing better than I have been. And if you're new here, hi. I had sinus surgery to repair a deviated septum on January 18th, and it was a long, long recovery, but I had very good care team with Teddy and Joel, who's actually downstairs working in his office, and they helped nurse me back to health. And I finally started turning a corner on Sunday, which was good because Sunday was Joel's birthday. And I have just been slowly working my way back up. I don't feel 100%. My energy level is still pretty low, but I'm definitely feeling a lot more myself, which is great. And thank you again to everyone who has expressed support. It has just been a long process, and it's made it difficult to keep up with posting videos, responding to comments and all of that stuff. So thank you for your patience, thank you for your understanding, and thank you for your kindness as well. And with that, let's move into the Friday Reads portion of this video. There's not a whole lot to report there either. I did finish one book this week, and that was Diva 2.0, 12 Life Lessons from Me to You by Cheryl Lee Ralph. So while I was recovering and really not feeling well, I did not do a lot of reading at all. I had just managed to build myself up so I was feeling in a reading mood, and then two things happened. One, a lot of the books that I read were meh, and then I just really wasn't feeling well. So I built my reading up, and then it crashed right back down almost immediately. And I really wasn't feeling well. I felt like I needed something to help inspire me, like push me forward and make me feel a little bit better. And I found out that Cheryl Lee Ralph had written a book because it was nominated for an Audie Award, which is for audiobooks. And so obviously she wrote the book and she narrates it herself. If you're unfamiliar, Cheryl Lee Ralph is an actress. She's fantastic. She was in the original cast of Dreamgirls on Broadway, and she is currently on the TV show Abbott Elementary. She's great on that show. I love that show anyway, but she is one of my favorite parts of the show. She's really just fantastic on it. And she won an Emmy for the first season of Abbott Elementary and gave just a fantastic speech. She gives really good speeches. She's very inspiring. She's very much about loving yourself and believing in yourself. And once I found out that she had this book, and I looked and it was only about 4 hours as an audio, I thought that, you know what, that is exactly what I need in my life. Some people have RuPaul. I have Cheryl Lee Ralph. So she definitely built me back up. I went through the book much more slowly than I would under normal circumstances because of, you know, everything going on here. And I just didn't feel like rushing it, and that was fine. But this book did everything that I needed it to do. It built me back up, made me feel encouraged and ready to go. And basically the premise is she refers to herself as a diva, but she defines diva as, the A changes, but she thinks of it as divinely inspired, victoriously alive, victoriously awesome. The A changes, but it's always divinely inspired, victoriously something with an A. And she does not think of diva as being mean. She thinks of diva as being a diva as being someone who is strong and empowered, knows what they want, and is willing to help build up the people around them. Like sisterhood is a really big thing for her in this book. And it was really interesting. I'm glad that I read it. I did not know that she had done a movie with Sidney Poitier. I just did not know that. So I got everything that I needed to out of this book. It inspired me. It made me feel a lot better. And that definitely gave me the strength to keep going. So your mileage may vary. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great. And she does a fantastic job reading the audiobook for sure. So I would recommend it if you need a pick-me-up, if you need a little bit of belief and self-love and just someone to inspire you to be the best you. Or if you're not feeling great, it definitely lifted me up out of the doldrums from really feeling pretty miserable. So I will always be appreciative for that. When I finished Diva 2.0, I happened to get access to an audiobook on Libby that I had on hold for a while. And that is Everything I Learned in a Chinese Restaurant by Curtis Chin. So I thought, well, why not? That sounded really interesting. I just finished this book, so let me dive in. So I'm about 40% of the way into the audio. Again, I'm taking things really slowly. I'm allowing myself to do things slowly, and that's kind of why I haven't made a whole lot of progress on books, even though I have been reading much more than I was. So I'm just allowing myself the grace and time to go at my own pace and not try to rush. So this is a memoir. Curtis Chin grew up in his family's Chinese restaurant. Well, I mean, not literally in the Chinese restaurant, but his grandparents had opened a Chinese restaurant in Detroit, and his parents were running it while he was a child in the 70s and 80s. And that defined a lot of his life. He and his brothers helped out in the restaurant a lot, and they spent a lot of time there and got to know the community of people in Chinatown and really learned a lot about Detroit, because this is at the time that there was a race riot in Detroit. And it's about the experience of growing up in the United States. It's about being Asian American in the United States. It's about immigration. It's about a lot of different things. One of the most interesting angles to me is that Curtis Chin is gay. And at the point of the book where I'm at, he is sort of starting to learn and understand who he is and doesn't know what to do about that. There's a really funny story where it involves the International Male Catalog, and I'll leave it at that. I would say just read the book. It's very funny, and I have found this book to be extremely interesting. I love a memoir that really feels like it's grappling with the past and who you are and looking for understanding. I don't really like reading memoirs that feel like they have been spun and are trying to present the best possible version of history or yourself. This really feels like it's grappling with the foibles of his family, of himself, of the neighborhood and the community, and the way they were treated. You know, at one point, because of the violence in the neighborhood where the restaurant is, which is the neighborhood that they had lived in, they end up moving into a house, and the people in the neighborhood treat them very badly. And it's a very interesting story, and I'm really enjoying it a lot, and I would definitely recommend it. Part of me almost thought I should hold on to this until Pride, but because I had waited so long to get access to the audio on Libby, I didn't know if I would be able to time it for Pride. But if you are someone who does what I do, where you read Pride books in the month of June, this would be a great one to use for that. But also, I think in, what month is it that the API History Month? This would be a great one for that. I want to say it's April. Could be May. I think it might be April, though. This would be a great book for that. But it's just a great book any time of year. I have really been enjoying it a lot. I'm loving his story. I believe he reads the audio himself. He's not a perfect audio narrator, but it is nice to hear the inflection and the way he tells the story. It's going really well. I can't wait to get further into this book and finish it, because I have just been really enjoying it and very engrossed in his story. And it is really, really, really very good. So in print, I started One Love by Matt Cain. If you follow along, you know I have become a huge Matt Cain fan in recent years. Joel and I both read The Secret Life of Albert Entwistle and absolutely loved it. That is where we fell in love with Matt Cain and his writing. You know, we were going through a tough time at the point where we read it. We had just lost a dog, and it helped us in our grief journey, helped heal our hearts and get us moving again. And then last year, Matt Cain published a book called Becoming Ted, which was only published in the UK. It was not published in the US. So we wanted it so badly that we ordered a copy from the UK. I believe that book we ordered from Queer Lit, which is a independent queer bookstore in Manchester. This one is also only available in the UK at the moment, but we ordered it from Gaze the Word, which is another independent queer bookstore in London. And it came, it's signed. I'm not going to show you the signature since I'm kind of balancing Ted. He's leaning a little, but just enough that I feel like I have to hold him on my lap. Oh, he's lying down. Here, I'll show you the thing then. Really well timed, Ted. It's signed, which is just fun. Now, Becoming Ted is being released in the United States this year. I'll put it in the description box down below. There will be affiliate links to all of these on bookshop.org. If you use those links, you help me out. You could also pre-order at your local independent bookstore, or make sure your library will be getting a copy. This one I will not have an affiliate link because it's just not available in the United States. It is what it is. But if you are a Matt Cain fan, I just don't have the patience to wait to see if it gets released in the United States. So we really wanted this. And the blessing of this is that, yes, it's a hardcover. Yes, it's big. But the print is large. It's still easy to hold. So if that is a concern for you, it's still easy to read. Anyway, I'm really glad I have been reading this. It has also been doing a little bit of what Cheryl Lee Ralph did, where it's just kind of building me back up. And it's really interesting. So the premise of this book is that you have two men, Guy and Danny. The story mostly follows Danny, although we do get some of Guy's perspective as the story goes on. They meet when they both start college in Manchester. They are both just coming out of the closet and discovering who they are as gay men. And they become fast friends because they know they're both in the same place and they support each other on that journey. Now, it is 20 years later. The action moves all between 2002 and 2022. and sort of moves in time between there. So originally in 2022, you have Guy and Danny today, and they are going together to celebrate Pride in Manchester. They have not been back to Manchester since they were in college. And, there's been some estrangement in recent years, but they've recently become friends again and reconnected. And they are in Pride. And Danny is planning to tell Guy that he has been in love with him for the whole 20 years that they have been friends. And the story sort of moves back and forth. You have 20 chapters that are in 2022, and then you begin with chapters that are in 2002, but they sort of start moving toward the present as you go along, and you start seeing the shape of their friendship and who they are. It is sort of a romantic comedy, but it's a very unexpected, unusual romantic comedy. And I won't go into why. I think this is a book that you would need to read yourself to allow the story and the characters to unfold. I have just over 100 pages left. And part of why I wasn't done, because I should have been done by now at the pace I was going through this book. But the reason I'm not done is I didn't manage to read much yesterday because I really didn't have any free time during the day because work was unexpectedly frantic. And then when I did have free time, I had to film my Women's Prize reaction and get it filmed, edited, and then uploaded. So that ate up any time I would have to read this during the day. And then when we were getting ready for bed, I did pick it up and read a chapter. The chapters are very short. And then when I started the next chapter, I got 2 paragraphs in and immediately knew if I had continued to read, I would need to finish. Because things were starting to come together. It's almost like when you read a mystery and you start to get to the last 100 pages and you feel compelled to finish because you need to know how everything starts coalescing and it starts careening into the final reveal. And that's the vibe that I was getting from this. I just knew if I continued to read, I was going to need to finish, and I really needed sleep because I was tired. So Teddy has kind of fallen asleep, so you might be hearing snores, but yeah, so I just knew that if I had continued reading, I would need to finish. So I gave myself the time to just say, you know what, I not now. I will wait. So maybe today I'll pick it back up, but we'll see how the rest of my workday goes. I haven't really started it yet. I'm filming this before work starts. And so we'll see if I get time during the day. I think I just need to make sure that whenever I pick up this next part, I'm probably going to be able to make that run toward the conclusion. It reads very quickly. So if not today, tomorrow morning, like Saturday morning with a coffee and Teddy and Joel would be a great time to run through to the end. So either today or tomorrow I will finish this because I need to know what happens. It's very interesting. And again, I just feel like I can't say anything more than the basic premise of this book. So that it unfolds in very unexpected ways. And that's sort of a Matt Cain thing. Like, I don't think he does very straightforward things. Even when you feel like something is predictable, he finds ways to make it interesting. And I'm really going to be intrigued to see how this ends. And I think a lot will depend on how it ends to see if I like it. But I mean, I've clearly been enjoying it. Don't get me wrong. But I think it will be interesting to see what happens in the end. I genuinely don't know. What's going to happen in the end. And that means it will be very interesting to find out. There are blurbs on the back of the book from Ian McKellen. Well, there's only one blurb from Ian McKellen. But he says, this rollicking love story entrapped me chapter by chapter. Very interesting. So, Ian McKellen agrees. And are you going to argue with Ian McKellen? I don't think so. But yeah, I've really been enjoying this. The downside is that this book is not immediately available in the United States. The good news is that if you are a Matt Cain fan, or if this sounds interesting, you can get it from the UK. That is something that is very possible these days. And if you are, of course, I would recommend doing or supporting a store like Queerlit or Gaze the Word. But, there are other avenues you could explore. I just don't have the patience to wait to see if, like Becoming Ted, this one will be available next year. I need the new one. So that is what I have been reading. I am sort of in a quandary right now because I thought I had until the end of the month to read Forbidden Notebook. I've had this the whole time that I have been recovering from surgery, and I kept renewing it. And I'm out of renewals. So I think what I might do is just return it because they won't let me renew it anymore. I might just return it and see if I can get it back because it's due this weekend. And so once I finish One Love, I had been planning to pivot to this and try to read it quickly, but I didn't realize it was due. So I think I might return it and try to get it back and then just let it, because I do really want to read it. It's just with my reading has been a mess as I've been recovering from surgery. And then I have Mean Spirit. This has holds on it, so I can't renew it. So my thinking is if I return Forbidden Notebook, I don't really think there are holds, so I should be able to get it right back. And then I can read Mean Spirit next, which was a Pulitzer finalist. It's basically an Indigenous person writing a fictional account of Killers of the Flower Moon. Really interested in that. So once I finish One Love, I'll probably do this. And then I do still want to read Housemaid of Dawn because N. Scott Momaday unfortunately passed away. And this is probably going to be my next book for the Pulitzer Prize Project. So I'll do 2 Indigenous books back to back. I don't know what I'm going to do on audio when I finish Everything I Learned in a Chinese Restaurant. I'm going to allow myself to mood read with that one and not have a plan like I have with physical books. So that's what I've been up to this week. I would love to hear what you've been reading, what you've been watching, loving, anything like that in the comment section down below. As always, I really appreciate your time, and I will be back. Until next time, happy reading. Say bye-bye, Teddy. Say bye-bye.